Morning, Crow.
Hello, how are you today, Eric?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Doing fine. Doing fine. Ready for an exciting several hours of open source today.
Yep, I actually have a relatively clear schedule that I can attend some of these. Lately, my company's been scheduling a lot of the meetings at exactly the same time as the meetings I have for OpenSSF I want to go to, so haven't been able to make it. But
I know the feeling.
got to do your actual job first, of course. Right? So.
Yeah, actual job gets in the way of fun sometimes. We're gathering. We'll get started in a few minutes. I put a link to the agenda in the Zoom chat.
Yeah, maybe we can update the calendar invite to have the 2023 notes.
I will, when I talk with Khalil, hopefully later today, I will request that.
I mean, there's a link to get here on the old notes from last year, but maybe we should just update it to be current.
Yep.
On a side note, you and I should set up a meeting in the next, couple of weeks to get working on our deck if we get accepted.
I agree. That process should be starting soon. I've had a couple emails about the paper committees, so that should be they should start reviewing all that stuff. And I think I actually have a schedule. I can let people know when answers will come back.
Well, if nothing else, we should create the deck. Even if we're turned down, we might use it elsewhere.
Right. March 10th, the notifications will go out.
Sounds good.
Hello, everybody. We'll get started in just a moment. If you could sign into the agenda, and if you have any new open items you'd like to discuss, add those to the open section. And happy Valentine's Day. All right, folks, let us get rolling for today. Welcome to the Valentine's Day edition of the Best Working Group. As is tradition, do we have any new friends or visiting the group for the first time that wanted to introduce themselves and say hello?
Test.
Check.
Sorry, I was making sure I had said something earlier, nobody responded, and I'm like, oh wait, what's up? Okay. So just a note, make sure you're using the right one because there's also two in the meeting guide. There's the SQL Plus best practices meeting for filling in, and that's not the one we're on today.
Right. Reading is fundamental. Today is February 14th. Tomorrow is February 15th. So do we have any new friends that wanted to introduce themselves?
Hey there, I'm Tabitha. I'm with G Research's Open Source Program Office. This is my first time joining. I'm an open source DevRel and security advocate for our OSPO. And that's about it about me.
Well, welcome. Glad to have you.
Hi, I'm Gail McCommons. This is not my first time. My first time, I think no one was here. It was like an off week or something. I'm at Comcast, where I lead open source compliance in the open source program office. And I'm on the board for OpenChain. So I'm trying to find opportunities for cross collaboration.
Nice. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you. Is anyone else new and wanted to say hi?
I think I may have been here before, so I'm kind of new, but Joe Seppi from IBM, but also do a lot of work in the OpenJS Foundation and, working on security related stuff in the JavaScript space.
Excellent. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks.
Or welcome back, whatever the case is. Any other new friends? Okay, as we roll forward, can I please have someone volunteer to help us scribe notes today?
I will take a stab at that.
Thank you, David. Always a pleasure to see you.
Yay! Nice to be back.
Don't call it a comeback. You've been here for years. All right. As anyone has opens, please add them to the open section. Just a couple pieces of business to chat through. As Jonathan so observantly noted, we have a new exciting effort kicking off tomorrow. We have talked about a C and C++ best practices guide. So the group decided tomorrow at 9 a.m. Or 1400 UTC was the best time for meeting on that topic. If I will spam everyone on the Slack channel and the mailing list tomorrow morning. Ideally, we have the calendar invite, but if we don't, I'll basically copy and paste this Zoom meeting and we will meet on that topic tomorrow. And you'll see our invite is getting a little more complex. There's a couple, we also have the source code management best practices guide that we were working on. So we'll be kind of interweaving the notes. So as you have questions or want updates on what's going on, take a look at the, if you could do a, what is that called? Like a summary view on the left-hand side of the page in Google, it'll show you, it'll bust out all the dates and everything. So you can kind of look at the individual meetings.
Quick request for this tomorrow C and C++ meeting. What is
Yeah.
that time again? I wanna
It
get
will
that in
be
notes.
9 a.m.
What time zone?
Eastern.
Eastern. Okay.
Yeah, I sent a note and a Slack out, and I will do the same again. I hope to get it on the calendar. I requested a couple days ago, so ideally that comes to fruition before the call. But if not, I will make a lot of noise and let everyone know we're meeting then.
Okay.
Other observant people may have noticed I have slightly changed the top of our agenda because we have so much going on. I wanted to give everybody one resource to go to quickly get to the different efforts. So I started to provide links to the education SIG, the DE&I subcommittee. I will start to add any of our sub projects that are part of this working group. So if they have a regular cadence for meetings or notes, I'll get all that staged up at the top of the agenda. And eventually I will, in my spare time, I'll get that filtered back into our GitHub repo so that we can have all the information available to anyone that pops in and wants to learn about all the awesome stuff we're doing. Any questions about that? All right. We did kick off the source code management best practices guide. Dan and Christine are going to help steer us through the creation of that guide. Do you want to, either of you want to share just a brief update of what's going on with that little group?
I can talk briefly. Yeah, we did sorry, give me 1 second so I get my thoughts in order. Gnome shared shared with me a consolidated markdown view of all the best practices around source code platform configuration, including things like two-factor authentication, configuration, repository configuration, permissions, groups, all this kind of stuff, right? And so then I took that and I dumped it into a markdown, or I dumped that markdown file into CryptPad, which is I've just been using as a good way to edit markdowns so that I can look at the visual and also edit, edit at the same time. And I posted that link to the Slack. And basically, if you take a look at that, you can see that what I've been trying to do is, because right now the document is very much in the format of like GitHub actions. It's very specific. It's very like it's very oriented around, organized around the artifacts that it's talking about. And then it has a GitHub section and a GitLab section, and then a GitHub section talks about actions and repositories, and GitLab section talks about members and groups and projects, right? And these are all, but there's a lot of commonality between them. So what I'm trying to do is come up with a table of contents that makes sense, where those items could be kind of interleaved together, but you go through it and you're like, two-factor authentication, here's how we can manage, here's how it works in GitHub, here's how it works in GitLab, repo configuration, here are the things that you need to keep, here's the general topic, and then here's how you need to think about it in these different SCMs, and then you could plug in other SCMs as well that way. So that's kind of where I'm going with that, and it's really just more as a proposal. So if people have thoughts or comments, the document is editable at the URL that I sent out, but it's the kind of thing where if you have that URL, you can edit the document, but there you can, so anybody can edit, basically.
So any questions about our source code management best practice guide progress? I'm very excited about that. If you're interested in,
we're going to have our next call, I think, is it this week or is it next week?
next week.
That was
on
kind of my
Thursday.
question. Next Thursday, that is in the calendar.
It will be. Again, I'm waiting on operations to get back with me on those requests. I
Okay,
will reconfirm with them, but yes, we agreed we were going to move it a little bit earlier and then to Thursdays, I believe, right?
Okay, so give me the next meeting date and time.
I will
Doesn't have to be-
post that into Slack after the call.
Ah,
I'm
I think it's
unprepared for that.
2:35. It should be 2:35 at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So 2:23, 10 a.m.
okay, 10
Eastern
a.m.
time.
Eastern time, and what was the date?
2:23,
Okay,
the
February
23rd
23rd.
of February. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do see it in the calendar, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, it's been updated.
Yes. My man Khalil is awesome. All right. Any additional thoughts or questions? If anyone's interested in participating in that or the C and C++ best practices guide, don't hesitate to hop on the call or monitor the notes. All right. My next item is there's going to be an OpenSSF town hall in the coming weeks and months. I believe Jennifer was targeting March, but I'll get a specific date. But basically, she's doing a cattle call for presenters. So I'm curious, does this group have anything that we are interested in sharing as part of the town hall or the forthcoming OpenSSF day that'll be in Vancouver? Any exciting best practices or updates we'd like to tell the world about?
If nothing else, I mean, the best practices badge and the security fundamentals course, we keep slowly adding more people. So there's not one, oh my gosh, X number, but I think that those are good numbers to share.
Yeah, actually, I'll need those once the TAC election's done, which will be starting, everyone should receive an email in a week or so about the TAC elections. Once that's complete, I imagine that they will get back on a schedule of reviewing the working groups. So that would be incredibly useful information for the group update, David. Jay.
Yeah, if I remember last year during OpenSSF Day, there was a brief talk about the DE&I stuff. We could bring up what we're actively doing here in this working group in the SIG. I know we have the CFP for the birds of a feather for the Open Summit, but you know, maybe a quick 15, because it's short anyway, right, on OpenSSF Day. So maybe a quick 15 minutes about the initiatives that we're working on, what we got going on here in this working group. That stuff.
That's great. I will ping Jennifer about that. I think that's an excellent idea. Jonathan.
I brought this up in the Slack channel a bit ago as a best practice. The conversation that I had with Justin Hutchins at GitHub while we were in Washington. One of the often missed best practices in open source and in industry in general is if you vendor a dependency and that dependency can't be updated by an end user, then you as a maintainer of that project should be reissuing a disclosure of that vulnerability, mentioning the CVE, and then providing that information back to the CVE master list with a link to your disclosure, because it basically indicates that you had a vulnerability, you have a vulnerability that you fixed, and you fixed it in this version, and that gives the rest of the industry the opportunity to update your package as well. And so I know this is not something that's it's more commonly done. You'll see this like Red Hat and all the big organizations, Apache Software Foundation will have that process in place, but smaller open source projects don't do that. And so I think that putting that into the best practices guide somewhere, I don't know where, because I actually haven't read through it, would be appropriate.
What does the group think about doing? Do we have an artifact we think that would be compatible with, or do we need a new artifact?
I don't know that we need a new artifact. I mean, we already have a guide on how to develop secure software. So maybe that's an entry in, or how to evaluate. We say how to evaluate. This isn't an evaluation question, so after what happens, but maybe add it as a point to developing secure software, and then if more detail needs to be explained, then create an artifact that points to.
Is this guide currently a GitHub project, or is it a Google Doc in its current form?
It is a GitHub Markdown file.
Okay.
If you give me a second, if you go to the OpenSSF guides, it's in the list. It's in fact, it's the very first one. It's the concise guide for developing secure software, and I'm going to put a link to that into our notes doc.
Concise guide or
concise guide for developing more secure software.
Oh, wow, that's very okay.
Now that one is basically a list of things.
That's dense. Yeah.
So but you'll notice that each item is intentionally quite short. If it needs a longer explanation, typically what we do is a short item and then link off to something with more detail. You can actually see that in a number of places.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy to write a short little blurb about this if someone gives me a here, put it here.
Yeah. Typically what we do is make a first draft in Google Docs so people can quickly edit and then move it to GitHub to maintain it.
Perfect. Okay.
So do you want to draft up a proposal, Jonathan, and then we could talk about it next time?
Yeah, I can do that.
Great. Thank you. Dan.
You mentioned that there was a call for participation in the town hall. Can you point me to that? Because I haven't seen anything on the Slack and I haven't seen anything in email about it. So where is it?
I believe it went to the TAC mailing list, Jennifer. It might also be in the outreach channel, but if you give
I
me
haven't seen it in the outreach channel, but maybe I'm just blind.
So it went to the TAC working group leads and the marketing committee. It's titled Seeking Volunteers, OpenSSF Day North America Program Committee Plus.
Okay, that's OpenSSF Day. I think he was asking about town hall.
Did it not go out to both?
Yeah, there wasn't a public thing. I think we wanted to have a bit more fleshed out in terms of agenda. So it just went to the working group leads, marketing committee, and to the individual members of the TAC. But we could send a wider thing out. But
if there's something that can be posted to the OpenSSF Slack, then I can take that link and send it internally to the people that in my organization are engaged in OpenSSF, and that helps me to generate interest in getting somebody lined up to participate in the campaign. So that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll try to track that down, Dan. And it's basically she was making a soft request from the working groups. Do we have anything we want to present? Do we have any new projects we're launching or major updates? So she's just kind of soft collecting that to stage an agenda. Avishai.
Thanks. Just reiterating on Jonathan's thought, is this only a best practice, or should this also be included in the vulnerability disclosure guides that we have?
It should. That's
yeah. It should, but it's Por qué no los dos? Yeah, it's basically I think this is also a best practice for maintainers as well that may not be directly related to vulnerability disclosure, because people may not be thinking about this as a vulnerability disclosure process. They might just think about this as a maintenance step of like revving dependency versions.
Yeah, and once we get the written proposal, Avishai, I think we can figure out, it'll be a simple matter to get it integrated into the guide, the CVD guide. I think
I'm here to help.
Siri's here to help everybody.
Siri at apple.com.
Damn watch. Always listening. All right. Any additional thoughts or feedback on Jonathan's idea or the town hall or OpenSSF Day? All right, scooting through our sub projects, I don't see any major updates. Is any one of our sub projects here? Did they want to share anything that may not be written down yet? Oh, I see what Jonathan did. Jonathan skipped the order.
I thought the question was whether there was a question about, is there anything else best practicey that you, I don't know. And I was like, all right, well, I'll go now.
Usurping the meeting order, sir.
We can let him pass this time.
We'll let it slide. So yeah, does any of our sub projects have any updates they wanted to share? Any news that is not written down yet? All right. So now is the time where we will talk about opens. Do we have any additional open items the group wanted to talk about today?
I guess maybe a quick question. You said C and C++. This is just for the compiler options, right? This is not a guide for all of C and C++.
Yes, the
right?
compiler, yes.
Okay.
Feel free to adjust the title appropriately.
Yeah,
but my hands get very tired with all that typing.
all right. I have already set a bake to operations. So we'll see.
Awesome. Does the group have any other topics they wanted to discuss today? Any questions for the group? This esteemed panel of luminaries we have here. All right, folks. Well, if there is no additional business, we will adjourn for today. Thank you for your time and attention. And we look forward to seeing you maybe tomorrow at the C and C++ compiler best practices guide meeting.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Does anybody here work for an organization that regularly issues disclosures for dependencies and or has experience with the structure of how that's supposed to work? I just know it's a thing that you're supposed to do. I don't actually know how like if there's like a standard that vendors are supposed to follow here.
I used to. I don't anymore.
All right.
You could talk to our friends at Red Hat.
All right.
Or Canonical or SUSE.
Yeah.
That guy.
All right, Dave, you want to?
Dave can help you.
Dave, you want to help me on this one?
I can certainly put you in touch with someone that can help you.
Okay. Well, you're right. Fine.
That is a form of help.
That's very fair. That's very fair. Okay.
Hit me up. Let me know what you're looking for, and I can make as Crow would say, I can make a love connection. This is Valentine's Day.
By the way, let me do a quick ad here. You said vendoring, but frankly, this also includes creating containers. Because as soon as you create a container, you are vendoring, but the problem is people don't call it vendoring. They call it creating a container as if somehow that's not vendoring.
Yeah. Well, that's why all those companies have container scanners. You should be just use those. No, I agree.
There we go. Absolutely. And container scans always provide perfectly correct information in all cases.
Yes. Yeah.
You're giving me nightmare flashbacks.
Yeah.
But I mean, so let me quickly, since we have just a moment, we've got some other folks here who
we have plenty of moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like a quick clarification on what you're pursuing here, Jonathan. I think I know where you're going. I mean, fundamentally, either an end user can update a component, or they're depending on someone else to update the component, and repeat through all the cycles. So basically, as soon as you take in something and you are vendoring it to others, and I include basically anything where you are taking over the release of a vulnerable component, then you have to be alerted and then update your component because it includes the vulnerable component. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, in which case, I would include vendoring, I would include container creation, I would include virtual machine image creation. I mean, really, any of those cases, we're creating something that embeds it inside, and it's not easily maintained by the end user.
Yes.
And that turns out to be, there's a whole lot of terms for it is the problem. And
yeah,
they all meet that criteria. So it's real. I'm not discounting it. It's a real thing.
Yeah. All right, I'll write something. I wish that I don't have experience doing this, but I know that it's something that people should be doing. All right. Okay.
Write something down. Try to make it short. You mentioned it, that guidance list is, hey, oh my gosh, this long. It at least originally fits in one page. That was the original goal.
Yeah.
So it does. Whatever you write, don't think it has to be long. Short is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right.
Krob, do you have actually Krob and David, do you guys have 30 minutes free that we can chat?
That's what my calendar says.
I might. Well, with that, we will officially adjourn. Thank you all for your participation today, and happy Valentine's Day.
Oh Lord.
Bye-bye.
I guess we're ending on that note.